we actually have a topic. Thank you for reminding me, Becky.
No problem, Sam.
A Missouri state representative introduced a bill that would require people shopping for guns to face restrictions similar to women trying to get an abortion. State Representative Stacey Newman introduced House Bill 1397, which would apply restrictions on gun ownership, such as a 72-hour waiting period and the mandatory viewing of a graphic video on the effects of gun violence. I have moral questions about that. The bill has no chance to pass the heavily conservative majority legislature. Newman said in a statement that if Missouri politicians care about protecting all life, they must take steps to stop gun violence.
So, as we have reviewed in the past, Missouri actually has very, very, very restrictive laws regarding whether one can seek an abortion. You have mandatory waiting periods, you have no overrides, and you have to view a graphic video on the effects of abortion. So here's the thing. The graphic video and any of the sort of things that a doctor has to say to you really hold no water. I mean, they're biased, they're border on falsehoods. And so what this particular legislator is trying to do is to say, look, the equivalent with regards to gun restrictions seem absurd on their face. Why, if you are, upholding the sanctity of life from your religious perspectives, does the abortion restriction, kind of laws not also seem patently absurd on their face?
Yeah, it's a fascinating way of it's. I don't want to say quite troll-like that she's doing this.
I would, but I have apparently a deviating definition of what a troll is.
See, I feel like more satire. This is more a Colbert thing, and I don't consider Colbert to be a troll.
Once upon a time, real trolling had a satirical element to it, and I think now it's just become internet bullying, which is lame. So yeah. I have to abandon that definition, possibly, much like the definition of hacking.
Well, it's like it's turning whatever destructive action someone is doing and trying to turn it on its head, point out its absurdity, point out where it falls flat, and say, look, if you were doing the same thing elsewhere, or here, I'll give you a taste of your own medicine. Yeah.
Do you want to go through these things that the bill says?
Absolutely, yeah. But she says a graphic video on gun violence. I'd like to know how that gets done. I'm like, what? You gotta go. I mean, hopefully you're working with an effects company and you're not.
I would like to think that she put in the bill that we are going to make Donald Trump stand in for this graphic video.
Okay, yeah. So requirements of House Bill 1397, as reported by this St. Louis magazine. Meet with a licensed physician to discuss the risks of gun ownership at least 72 hours before attempting to buy a gun and obtain a written notice of approval.
So you got to get a permission slip from your doctor to say yes.
For a very brief moment, I'm going to pretend like this could pass. Doctors don't need this extra work.
Nor do they need the extra work of having to do this for any woman seeking to terminate a pregnancy.
Yes, indeed. You know what I wonder about that? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Number 2, buy the gun from a licensed gun dealer located at least 120 miles from the purchaser's legal residence.
This reflects the distances that women have to travel in Missouri generally in order to seek services in order to terminate a pregnancy.
Which I believe there's only Planned Parenthood still open in Kansas City and St. Louis. Isn't that correct?
And so the average distance that a woman seeking a termination or abortion would have to travel is 120 miles.
Yeah.
That means that some people have to travel a greater distance to that.
Yeah, and if you look at the sort of geography of Missouri, like you have St. Louis on the eastern border of the state, you have Kansas City on the western border. They are literally as far apart as possible. So these locations are making it so that you have to drive as far as you possibly can.
So 120 miles to pick up a gun is a nice round number that sort of mirrors the distance that women might have to drive.
Right.
Review the medical risks associated with firearms, including photographs of fatal firearm injuries and the alternatives to purchasing a firearm, including materials about peaceful and nonviolent conflict resolution, with the gun dealer orally and in writing.
So this is exactly what women have to do, where they have to say, you know what, you can have an alternative to abortive procedures. You can actually have adoption. You can raise your child. So it's just mimicking that kind of thing. And you'd think that by the time someone wants to purchase a firearm, they know exactly what that means. And they say, why do I have to look about peaceful and nonviolent conflict resolution? I get that, right? And they might even say, this has nothing to do with conflict resolution. I want to go hunting. Oh, well, then let me provide you with, lots and lots of literature on vegetarianism.
Go to a store and buy meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone, has made the decision to buy a gun, they probably have heard this before and are pretty secure in their decision.
I've always wondered about this. The doctor is required to say things, and how much of that must be conscripted and without violating free speech. Because before the state-sanctioned part of the conversation between a doctor and a patient begins, the doctor kind of can just say, okay, the state is officially requiring me to lie to you. So I'm going to say a bunch of stuff. Don't believe me.
I believe there was in another state that had a similar law in place. There was a doctor who actually had a written form with a big paragraph at the top that says, I am legally required to tell you all of this crap. This is all crap.
Yeah.
Don't listen to this crap. Here's the crap I'm going to tell you, and then says it.
Yeah. And then they can say, well, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, now you're actually requiring a doctor to withhold medical information, and that becomes an entirely different can of worms.
You're also requiring a doctor to have an opinion then.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that that might be the grounds for legally overturning some of these things. And I would like to see that happen in as many states as possible.
Please.
It would be hilarious if it went down on those lines. Which hilarious, also kind of sad. But,
Here's a video requirement.
Watch a 30-minute video about fatal firearm injuries. Okay, I gotta stop for a moment, but I'll finish it.
The requirement mirrors House Bill 124 from last year, which would have required a woman to watch a video with information about abortion, that they're already required from doctors the doctor already has to say it. Now you have to go to your doctor, get him to sign or her to sign a permission slip form saying that I've told you all of these things, I made you read it, and now we have to make you watch a video.
Do you know Americans? I mean, have you met Americans? Oh, you got to watch a violent video before we give you a gun. They already watch that stuff. That's not going to stop them in any way. Okay, oh, really? Is it going to be Rambo 3, which is my favorite of the Rambo movies? Or...